Week 5, we got the Kyle Pitts coming out party going on right now in London. Had his touchdown. I feel like every week we played him, he did not
Love
do
to
that.
see
But
it.
yeah, it was bound to happen. No Calvin Ridley, no Russell Gage, just kind of a whole mess there. So he was the only pass catcher in town. And Cordell Patterson, I'll still never play him, but shout out to you, Ghost, for
Thank
whatever
you.
sick thing made that happen last week. But let's get after it. 12-game slate. I personally love when the slate's a little bit smaller because the chalk gets a little more condensed and you can't really get burned by that many people like we have in weeks past. But New Orleans, Washington. To tell you the truth, I have absolutely no interest in this game at all. I'll have a little bit of Alvin Kamara just because I couldn't afford Derrick Henry in every single lineup. So when I needed a top dog, I still like Alvin Kamara a little bit here. Washington is good against the run, but Kamara's got to get going in the passing game here soon. I just don't know if that's going to be a thing with Jameis. That's what we talked about in the offseason. The beer chug. I do owe the beer chug. Let me finish pouring it. I'll do that in a second.
I'm not gonna.
It's still foamy a little bit at the top. So once it's room temperature. But let's get after it. Do you like anything in this? Do you like anything in this New Orleans Washington game?
I don't. It's a full fade for me. Total's really low. Oh my god, right to the rim too.
Do you have any interest in a 5% owned Terry McLaurin against a pretty bad secondary in New Orleans?
Yeah, because I think Washington's chasing points in this one. Sean Payton's an absolute beast on the road. I don't know what it is, but it's that's just what it is at this point. So he's been there, done that. Definitely not as a player, but as a coach, it's just absolutely unreal on the road. So I like the Saints here today. More exposure to that game to me on the sportsbook than in DFS, but that's about it.
Yeah, I really don't have any interest. I guess if you need a 3K punt, Curtis Samuel is still at 3K. Didn't really play a whole lot of snaps last week, but when he did run routes. So I guess he's worth it if you need a punt play because I know there's really no one in the 3K range that we like. So it makes sense. It should be a positive game script for Washington to pass the ball a ton. But I think Washington's defense is in play. It's Jameis Winston. Washington's at home. You know he's always good for a pick or two. But other than that, we'll move on to New England, Houston, a game I have absolutely no interest in. Jacoby Myers is in a really good spot, has pretty good pass catching props, and he's really the only game in town for targets. Other than that, you're kind of playing tight end roulette with Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Damian Harris would be in a great spot, in my opinion, but the dude only had 4 carries last week and I think 6 the week before. So it's just starting to become a Belichick backfield that we cannot handicap. And with so much value on this slate, knock on wood, I hope Dalvin Cook's out because that makes this a lot easier to fade Damian Harris. But anything for you on this game, Houston, Jacoby Myers, anything like that?
Which kind of sucks because Jacoby Myers is in no man's land at least on DraftKings in that pricing bracket with T. Higgins and Vizca and all these other guys, Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase and a ton of these 5K receivers that I know both of us love this week. So, I would be all over Jacoby Myers in normal circumstances where a lot of these guys weren't underpriced, especially on DraftKings, where he's been an absolute target machine in the past couple of weeks for Mac Jones. So I do like him in this spot, just I prefer the other guys. So he's kind of the odd man out. And it's the same thing with Damian Harris, combined with the fact that, like, you have it on the screen right there. So he pointed out the O-line's absolutely decimated right now. But it's the same kind of thing where why do we need to dip into a Belichick backfield when we have a potential Alexander Madison game here if Dalvin Cook gets ruled out? If anyone has that news, we're just under 2 hours to lock here. So if anyone has that news, please drop it in the comments when we're locked in like this on air. But we have a potential Alexander Madison week at 5,500. I got another running back that I love at 56 and D. Will. Fournette's out there at 52. So same kind of thing for both of these guys where they're in no man's land based on who they're priced with. I do lean Myers. At that point, you just have to hope that 1-for-1 he outscores a guy like T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd or any one of these other guys. But I'm all over all the other guys, so I have zero exposure to this game right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's just I like this slate and the fact that it's very condensed. There's not a lot of games that I'll have exposure to at all. I think there's like 3 or 4, but yeah, I don't think that this is a game I really want to mess with. Houston has an implied team total of 15 points. I just don't see how there can be any pace to this game at all. And no one really blows. If Jacoby Myers was like 4,500 or something like that, I'd be all for it. But at 56, It's just not for me. All right, moving on to a game that I actually have a ton of interest in. The Minnesota Vikings have a 30-point implied team total hosting the Detroit Lions. Both these defenses are awful. We like to pick on Brashad Breeland every single week. I know we are all in on Odell last week, and people, kind of called it a bust. If you go watch that game, man, Odell should have
so many missed throws.
Right,
So
he had 4 missed touchdowns. So obviously, it's like, okay, if he makes perfect throws, he's not scoring 4 touchdowns because one of them changes the whole game. But he should have been a lock for 1 or 2 there and about 80 yards, and that's all we needed at the price that Odell was last week. We just got bakered, and nothing you could really do about that. But Kirk Cousins, I think this is an excellent, excellent spot. I think week 1, I wrote up Kirk Cousins when he's facing pass defenses that are in the bottom 5 in DVOA. The guy goes for 300 yards and 3 scores all the time, like literally every single time. I think he did it week 1 too. So as much as we love Alexander Mattison, assuming Dalvin Cook's out, if Dalvin Cook goes, I'm 100% fading him. It just, I didn't like that we saw him split time with Mattison last week. And I think if Dalvin goes, I'm going to full fade Alexander Mattison as well. It's just, I don't want to play running back roulette there, but it seems like everybody thinks that Dalvin's going to be out. So I'm going to assume that Dalvin's out, and I have Madison everywhere if that is the case. And then I love the run backs of DeAndre Swift. And one of my elite plays of the week is Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. So I just really love this Vikings offense as a whole. They can't cover anybody. They literally don't have a cornerback that's healthy. And Justin Jefferson if you read the GPP article, he is one of the best route runners in the NFL. And then low-key, I think my 3K guy that I like more than Curtis Samuel is Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that this is a really good game script for him. We saw him play like 75% of the snaps last week. So they're starting to let the rookie go a little bit. Playing in the slot, you could beat this Minnesota defense there. And like I said, Minnesota's got a 30-point implied team total. Detroit should be chasing points. So that is a great game script for guys like DeAndre Swift that catch the ball 6 or 7 times a game. For cheap punt plays like Amon-Ra St. Brown, you could play Khalif Raymond. It seems like that's the guy that Jared Goff's really having a lot of trust in, and he should see a lot of Breeland as well. And then Quintez Cephas, I guess, should be lined up there. I'm just going to play Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that's going to be my main guy because I just don't want to go $1,300 more for a guy like Khalif Raymond, who's been a journeyman and never really been a key contributor to our team. I just don't want to play an expensive Lions wide receiver. If I'm running it back, I'm running it back a Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and, Hawkinson, if you trust that his knee's going to be good, but he is going to play. Thoughts on this game, Ghost?
I really like it. This was my favorite game of the week in the early stages of the week before another one ended up taking that spot over. It's still my second ranked game, and I absolutely love the Vikings offense as a whole, similar to you. Going to be tough to fade Madison if Cook is out. But that being said, I don't know if there's a greater leverage spot. And I hate using that term in DFS, but it's just what it is. I don't think there's a greater leverage spot on the slate right now than the Minnesota passing attack. I mean, I get it. Jefferson's pulling rostership percentage, but Adam Thielen is really nowhere to be found on a lot of these projections right now in terms of rostership percentage. So I do like going Kirk with double stacked with the 2 big guns. You don't have to worry about Irv Smith with his injury being out. I'm not playing Conklin. I'm not getting Q with any of that. I would just stack the big guns with Kirk, JJ, and Thielen out there. And when you end up not playing Madison, you just got to hope that Kirk just ends up throwing these 5-yard touchdowns to Adam Thielen. I think I've said it at least 3 times this week in 4 weeks where if you're not playing Cook, you need to play Thielen, and he's going for 2 touchdowns inside the 5 because if the running back, whether it's Cook or Madison, ends up getting stuff at the line, they run the exact same plays. It's quick routes to Adam Thielen inside the 5, and it's a multi-touchdown day. So in my lineup that I'm not playing Madison by getting leverage with the Vikings passing attack, you absolutely need Adam Thielen because not only are you hoping that Madison doesn't go bonkers because you're simply not playing him, but you need to hope that he gets stuffed at the line and that Thielen's catching these 5-yard touchdowns, right? So I would just double stack the big guns. And my run back here, I thought about guys like Cephas and St. Brown and Khalif Raymond, and Khalif Raymond kind of stood out to me just for the fact that he's got that wicked speed where he can catch a ball deep. But at his price, it just doesn't make sense. Like that to me is a punt receiver. When I hear the name Khalif Raymond, I'm thinking 3,500 punt receiver, and he's not priced accordingly to that. So I'm just going Swift in that lineup, hoping that it's one of those monster target days. Is he going to match the double-digit targets that he had one week? Probably not. But if he does, it's all systems go here for DeAndre Swift. So in the running back carousel between, a lot of guys that I like, which we don't have to, I could just name them now. And that's Damian Williams and Fournette and Madison if Cook is out and all these guys at 5K to pair with Derrick Henry. Not many people are playing DeAndre Swift, especially with that Q tag. So, you know what? I'm hoping that the targets are there for him. I think they will be, considering that Minnesota is going to have that luxury to be able to, press up as much as they want to against a very average, if not mediocre, Detroit offense. So I'm running back with Swift. Takes up a large chunk of the salary, but at the same time, the remaining pieces are the same ones that I have in my other core lineups, with exposure to Giants and Dallas, exposure to other games that we like. So for me, if I'm stocking this one, it's Kirk, double stud wide receiver with Adam Thielen and JJ, and then running back with DeAndre Swift. And if you're not doing that and Cook is out, you absolutely need to lock Alexander Madison in all formats today. I don't care what the roster share percentage is. If it's 40%, I don't care. 60% of the field is dead in that case. Or if Madison flops, well, that's okay, because we have our Kirk Cousins, JJ, and Thielen stack, which would be sub 5% owned on aggregate ownership.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of my core GPP plays, is that double stack with Kirk. I'm glad that you're on it as well. And then, running it back with just Swift is the safest thing you can do. Like, that is where the volume's going, is to DeAndre Swift and catch-up games. Hawkinson again, St. Brown, whatever. If you want to get that cute, that's more like Millie Maker type of thing. But Miami at Tampa Bay. I don't have a whole lot here. I think Fournette's an absolute smash spot. Giovanni Bernard looks like he's going to dress, but they really don't play him unless it's a 2-minute drill or they're playing catch up. I just don't see much of that happening. Sure, they'll have a 2-minute drill, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, Fournette's in an excellent spot at 5,200 on DraftKings. Going to be very popular there for good reason. We saw him, really handle the load Sunday night in New England. And then I'm not really interested in Evans, Godwin, Antonio Brown, just because I don't really like it. It's hard to choose. If you're going to play Tom Brady, I'd say you certainly double stack him. There's no Gronk, so I think, the red zone targets are likely going to Mike Evans. He's the lowest owned on this team. So if you were digging this Bucs offense, I would go to Mike Evans. AB's just way too cheap again. And then you can't run on Tampa Bay. We all know that. So Miami has Devontae Parker ruled out. So their two pass catchers right now, their two best wide receivers are Jalen Waddle, who's 4,800, and Mike Gesicki at 4,200. Both these guys play the slot as well, and that's where you want to, abuse this Tampa Bay secondary, who's not good to begin with. So a team that's playing catch-up, I think, we put the prop in for Jalen Waddle over 4.5 catches yesterday. That looks incredible now. But Waddle and Gesicki, that's where the ball is going to be thrown. In a team that's playing catch-up, I know it's a very non-sexy offense, but I think those guys are in excellent spots. Jalen Waddle is certainly in my cash pool now that Devontae Parker's ruled out. So I think he's probably a cash core play for me if I'm not playing Gesicki. So it's either Evan Ingram or Gesicki for me at tight end, because I just can't get to Waller as much as I want to. I think that's the easiest cash move there is to go to Waller. I know Kelsey let us down last week, but week over week, not punting tight end is going to be a much more successful route in cash. But yeah, I love those two pass catchers for Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, they both represent great pivots to other guys that I like too, and that's Visca, who's pulling a lot of rosterships. So if you want to get away from, a very chalky offense in Jacksonville that is just simply not good. So to be able to see Visca there at 4,800, you got a quick pivot in Jalen Waddle, and then on top of that, Gesicki there at 4,200. I mean, man, we were talking about this in Discord late last night too, and on a slate where we got no Kelsey and no Kittle now with his injury, why are guys like Darren Waller and Gesicki and Dalton Schultz just not pulling numbers? Like it just, I get the punt tight end strategy. I get that it's more the fact that it opens everything up for you and for your build. But at the same time, you're essentially taking a low floor and making it as low as possible with that position. So for me, it's not really something that I look for in my cash games. I get it more so in a GPP strategy, but then even then, does it really pay off when you're playing someone that's 15 to 20% owned and he's $2,500 like RSJ or like Dwelly or any one of these other guys, right? So for me, it's just you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place there, where I get the strategy because it opens everything up for your build, but at the same time, it's like, man, are you really eating chalk for a $2,500 tight end? Like, for me, it's a strategy that I'm not deploying at all this week, especially not in cash, because the tight ends that I want to play are not expensive. I mean, on any other slate, I would love to lock in Darren Waller, but with other players that we need in our cash core, I can't do it this week. But getting Dalton Schultz or Gotseki it is a great option to me. And at 4,200 there, you need to be able to get behind these Tampa Bay linebackers to move the ball downfield, and they're going to have to do it through the air, and that's going to be Waller in the slot, especially when he's in the slot. And then Gotseki, like you were saying, he lines up right there, standard formation, or he's able to do it in the slot, and that's quite the mismatch for Tampa Bay. So I do like both of these guys in this spot. I'm not full on stacking this one. I'm not going to talk anyone off of it, just like you would always say, we'll never talk anybody off of any strategy that they're deploying in their lineups. But for me, if you are stacking Tom Brady, it's Godwin and AB. Antonio Brown just way underpriced this week at 5,200. But again, I could kind of see this being, the classic Brady matchup versus Miami, who he has faced endless amounts of times from his days, obviously in New England, same division there. So he knows his defense really well. He's going to be able to torch it. But that being said, how do we know that there's not, 10 different guys that catch a ball today for this Tampa Bay offense? So it's not a game that I'm stacking at all, like not even whatsoever. Fournette is a guy that I'm absolutely locking into my cash games, not only because the roster percentage is through the roof, but he's simply way too cheap in what should be a favorable game script for him. And then on the other side, I really do like Gotseki and Waddle, exactly like the way that you pointed out. So in my GPPs, kind of making that a mini stack where you can get either Gotseki with Fournette or Waddle with Fournette as well. If you are eating ownership on Fournette, then that's okay in GPPs. I still think he's a strong play no matter what, but very limited exposure to this game overall for me. I'm not full on stacking it at all, keeping it to mini stacks, Fournette with one of the two pass catchers. And in my cash games right now, it's very similar, very similar.
Love it. Yeah, I think that's a great strategy. So one of those cheap run backs, Gesicki or Waddle on the other side of chalky Fournette is a great way to go. Moving on to Cincinnati and Green Bay. It looks like this game just keeps getting bet up on the total. We're at 51 points now. Aaron Rodgers, 7,100. Great GPP play, in my opinion. I'm not really on him as much just because I can't really get there. But Joe Burrow, there's no Jair Alexander for the Packers. So that's going to mean Kevin King is going to play. Likely, like 80% of the snaps out there in the secondary. So that is good news for Joe Burrow. The bad news for me is that T. Higgins is back. I'm not a T. Higgins guy, Ghost. I know he gets a lot of lick when he's out there, but I love that Thursday game when they play Jacksonville because it's going to Jamar Chase, it's going to Tyler Boyd, and then random showdown captains of CJ Uzomah breaks the slate. But I like those condensed target shares where we know where the ball is going. If we like the quarterback, we know who to stack him with. So I think Jamar Chase is absolutely a lock. Like that is the guy that you want to use in your stack if you're going to double stack it. Flip a coin between Boyd and Higgins. It seems like when Higgins is out there, Boyd kind of is the one that suffers a little bit. Devante Adams is an absolute elite cash game play again this week. I know he let you guys down last week. It's Devante Adams. The dude has a 35% target share. Still, I don't believe MVS is playing. And if he is, I don't care. And then for GPPs, the 80 model loves Aaron Jones. And I personally didn't love Aaron Jones this week. I know Cincinnati's run D's a little stout. Like they were good against the run for Jacksonville. Robinson just got in the box twice, so sure the numbers allowed look good for fantasy running backs. But
so he's going for 204.
Yeah, the model loves Aaron Jones. So if Aaron Jones is going to be 5%, like I said, I'm going to go to Devante Adams in cash, and I'm going to go to Aaron Jones in GPP. Like I'm not like we talked about how much we love Minnesota and Detroit, that little back and forth there. You don't need to throw Aaron Jones in that lineup. You don't need to get like crazy contrarian. Like if you're playing that Viking stack, go get some chalk, go get Fournette in there, run it back with one of the, Miami guys to keep the correlation, and you're exposed to two games. And then like Go said, get exposed to New York and Dallas, because we're going to talk about that game a lot. It's got the highest total on the slate next to this Green Bay Cincinnati game, but model trust Aaron Jones. I personally don't. Like the good thing is, Ghost, like when it used to say that Aaron Jones was going to break out a couple games last year, I was on it too. This week, I'm not. Well, I'm on it now because it's telling me to, but yeah. I don't know. I just don't get it. But I love this game. I mean, hell, you could double stack Devante Adams and Aaron Jones and then play Burrow into these pass catchers and pray this game just scores 60, 70 points. And your GPP line is going to win just because this game goes off because you have the key contributors to those games. So that's kind of my thoughts in a nutshell. I have no interest in Tanya, and I have no interest in CJ Uzomah.
If he vultures a touchdown,
whatever. Yeah, whatever.
Pretty tilted.
Yeah, that's fine. But this isn't going to be a low-scoring game. And if he scores a touchdown, good, because that means the Packers are going to answer back, and it's going to Devante or Aaron Jones. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Randall Cobb, you could play. I guess he had a pretty big role last week. I'm not interested in him at 4,000.
Vintage Randall Cobb last week.
Yeah, it was actually playing the slot, running the out route, going to the house. Thoughts on this game? I think it's a pretty sneaky game that everybody's just going to Devante Adams, and that's it. I think there's way more to offer.
Yeah, it is my favorite one of the week. I had this one at number 2 early on, and now it surpassed Minnesota Detroit. So I kind of flip-flop these two games, and I know you said you're not really a T. Higgins guy. Hopefully I'm able to convince you to get at least a little bit of exposure here. But
I'm not playing him.
T. Higgins with Joe Burrow.
I like Jalen Waddle more than T. Higgins. So at 4,800, I want Jalen on DraftKings.
So T. Higgins with Joe Burrow has a touchdown every 2 games. So 6 touchdowns in 12 games now with Joe Burrow. Over 60 yards per game. Targets are absolutely through the roof, and he just loves this guy. Now, does that change with Jamar Chase being there and having, produced in the past couple of weeks compared to week 1? It's yet to be seen. We'll see. Like, T. Higgins was out last week. Maybe things changed a little bit, but I think Joe Burrow goes right back to it, using those outside wide receivers. Go Tigers, LSU connection here between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins as well. I think Tyler Boyd's the one that is really interesting here. Might be the odd man out, but on DraftKings, that PPR floor is second to none for guys like him and Keenan Allen, who just eat up targets and eat up these receptions. So not really much of a touchdown guy there in Tyler Boyd when T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are both playing. But for me right now, it's T. Higgins at 5K, Jamar Chase. Absolutely love Jamar Chase this week, especially for those of you that are on FanDuel as well. Yes, we do. I know we refer to DraftKings pricing a lot, but we play on both sides. So FanDuel, Jamar Chase is actually priced up at 7,300 with some elite wide receivers. So not a lot of people playing Jamar Chase. I absolutely love the leverage that you can get over there. Same thing with T. Higgins, priced up a little bit there at 6,700. So to be able to get both those guys in your lineup with Joe Burrow, definitely still possible with the likes of Derrick Henry and all these other guys that we're talking about on FanDuel. I know because I built it. So just to be able to do that, you can do it on both sides. I think a lot of people lean towards the Cincy passing attack here because of the flexibility that it gives them. But I love stacking it the other way also. Going to be able to get exposure to Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Devante Adams. And just, not
Aaron
really
Jones
much.
is a pass catcher too.
But that's exactly it, right? So both of us preach it where, we have to be careful with these running back, quarterback negative correlations. But and I know you mentioned it in your article as well, saying the same thing with the Cowboys today, where that Dak Zeke negative correlation, that's not a thing. It's not negative when it comes to that offense. And it's the same thing with this Green Bay offense. So to be able to get, what are we looking at? At least 75+% of all the DFS interest that we have on the Packers side is in Rodgers, Jones, and Adams. You stack the big 3 there and run it back with a guy like T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, or Jamar Chase, whichever one that you personally prefer, depending on which site that you're building on as well. I really like stacking it the other way also. And I know that it makes things a little bit tougher, given that the salaries are much different. You got Rodgers that's priced up compared to Joe Burrow at 6,100. Devante Adams obviously at 82, but either way, he should be in consideration for your lineup, whether you're running Cincy's offense or Green Bay's offense. Same thing for Aaron Jones. And these Bengals wide receivers, it'd be a lot easier to pair 2 of those guys at 5K range versus Aaron Jones at 7,900 and Devante Adams at 8,200. But that's exactly why no one's going to do it. And that's why we love to do it. So for me, getting all of that Green Bay offense, I think this is an Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Devante Adams explosion game. I really do think that the big 3 come out absolutely banging on this 12 p.m. game here. And this one's going to be fireworks. I have the over in this game also on the book, so I'm exposed all over to it. And I really do love this game as a whole.
Yeah, I think follow the Vegas numbers here too. I think the game opened at like 48. Now it's up to 51. A 3-point swing is pretty big. Looks like a lot of sharp money around that over. So that's probably my third favorite game. Yeah, that's awesome. So thanks, William, for hooking us up.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Please, keep us going. Isaiah, thanks as well. Not looking good. I'd rather hear out. So if you guys got out, please share that immediately so I could celebrate. And then here we go, Denver, Pittsburgh. And then here we
gross.
not go, Denver, Pittsburgh.
Next
All right,
game. Yeah,
Philly,
next game.
Carolina. Kind of a low total on this game. I think it's at 47 points. No one's
I was
playing Jalen
surprised.
Hurts. Yeah,
I thought it would touch 50. I was surprised with that total.
That's what they get. Carolina kind of shores up their defense. Now everybody's off this game. DJ Moore, I know I'm not really a DJ Moore guy. His price keeps going up, but the dude has a 35% target share. Like, you got to start looking at him like he's, Devante Adams Jr. a little bit, and he is a really good route runner. So, I mean, no one's playing Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to talk about Miles Sanders anymore for a little bit. But, man, Miles Sanders at 5,700, like that keeps me up at night. And gets me thinking,
The talent is there. The talent is there, just the usage isn't, right? But
you got to respect him, but no, not this week. But Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith, man, Devonta Smith gets a ton of air yards. Someone I'm a little bit interested in this week, but to tell you the truth, with how much I like Minnesota, Detroit, Green Bay, Cincinnati, the game we're going to talk about next, and then Dallas, New York, I just didn't find room to play these guys very much at all. So if you do, plenty of good stacking pieces. Like we said with Carolina, where the stack or where the equity is going. It's going to DJ Moore. You can play Robbie Anderson. Chuba Hubbard's not in my player pool today. But yeah, I mean, it's going to DJ Moore. So if you like Sam Darnold, fire it up because Philly's defense is bad. But yeah.
That's it. For me, the Philly exposure would be very limited to Hurts and Devonta. Outside of that, on the Carolina side, Sam Darnold, I didn't check this morning. I don't know if he's still leading the league in rushing touchdowns, but we talked about it last week with Chuba Hubbard and just the fact that Sam Darnold can run it in at any time. And we saw it again last week. We saw it the week before. We saw it every week that Sam Darnold's just a red zone threat on his own, right? So this Eagles defense, I'm sorry, Brian, to say this, but this Eagles defense is really bad. So I do like the Panthers offense side of things. They will move DJ Moore around. I know Robbie Anderson has an absolute cakewalk of a matchup also. The stats were there. He not on the box score, but the actual game and unrealized air yards and a ton of different stats for Robbie Anderson last week were actually through the roof. So is this the week that we saw with Robert Woods in prime time last time where, it ends up being that game that we've all been waiting for from Robbie Anderson? For me, it's not really worth risking outside of large field GBPs. If you are playing large field GBPs, then I would run at least one Carolina stack with Darnold, Moore, and Robbie Anderson and just end up double stacking it there, run it back with Devonta. This game's kind of the odd man out for me. I just have other games ranked ahead of it, but it is a really good one. That game total scares me a little bit, though. Vegas knows, I'm pretty sure Vegas is good at what they do, and that game total kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just not interested. I guess you could play Dallas Goedert, season-long stuff like that. I think the guy's just getting a ton of red zone targets, but in terms of actual production in the middle of the fields, he and Ertz just split time. But when it's a tight end wasteland this week, when it's Waller and pretty much nobody else with Kittle out, Kelsey not on the slate, I think you could do way worse than these Philly tight ends because they just use them a lot. All right, I guess it's my favorite game of the week. I have 20% of my 150 lineups with this guy as my quarterback, and that is the long hair, weird-looking dude from Clemson, Trevor Lawrence. I think that I love this game. The model thinks this game's going to go for 50-something points, so it's gross, but again, I know where the correlation is going. When Trevor Lawrence is going to pass, it's going to Marvin Jones, who's got a 45% red zone target share, and Laviska Shenault, now that DJ Chark's out. Laviska should be a cash lock for you guys this week at 4,800 on DraftKings. I think he's really cheap on FanDuel as well. Marvin Jones is probably my favorite GPP wide receiver, not named Justin Jefferson, because everybody's going to go play Shenault, but the guy that can break the slate is Marvin Jones. Run it back with A.J. Brown, and obviously the number one running back on the slate, Derrick Henry. So I know who's getting the ball for Tennessee. It's Derrick Henry. It's A.J. Brown, right? So if I love Jacksonville, how do I make my stack? I know who's getting the ball. It's Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault. So I have 5 guys in a game that a model I built thinks is going to go well over the total. Maybe it doesn't, whatever, but I'm going to trust my numbers and trust the system. If they go off, I know those 5 guys are going to have a big game. And Joe Mixon is active. Dalvin Cook is out. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate it very, very much because we are living in a different land right now of just you guys and our computers. So thoughts on this game, Ghost? And I do give an honorable mention to Dan Arnold, and I believe Anthony Fersker's receiving yards was at like 21. So if you see a prop that's at 21, sprinkle a little bit on Fersker's over, but I'm not playing him in DFS. I do like Dan Arnold a little bit at 2,900 just because like it's punt tight end and it's not popular punt tight end and it's in the game that I love. So for me, like if I'm punting a tight end, I'm not just scrolling down. All right, who's 2,700? He fits. Like make sure when you're punting tight end, like it's educated. For me, my justification is I love this game and that's pretty much it. And he's not 20% owned. So when people are going to play 3K tight ends that are 20% owned, or if Ross Dwelly later is 25% owned, the guy's got a 16-yard receiving prop in Ross Dwelly. Like, why would that be chalk? I get it. If you're stacking that game, that's when I'll play Dwelly. But I'd much rather go to Dan Arnold right here.
Yeah,
and am I crazy to love this game? I guess
No,
James
you're
Robinson
not.
too is certainly in play. I just got James Robinson everywhere in season long because he went to Harvard of the Midwest, Illinois State University, as did I. So James is my boy. So I actually don't know him, but he's my boy in fantasy. I got to draft him everywhere as a Redbird. So I'm kind of off James Robinson just because I'm so invested season long. That's just my story here personally.
To the surprise of absolutely nobody, I am playing Derrick Henry everywhere, obviously. Also a Florida native, just FYI, for those of you that love narratives and dig into the fun side of DFS, Florida guy. So his family will be in attendance, and it's going to be a big game for Derrick Henry yet again, running back. Outside of that, you're not crazy, because if there's ever a week where this Jacksonville offense gets going, it's against this Tennessee defense. So to be able to, get an offense that's able to potentially put up that many points at such an affordable price point, you can surround this lineup with mini stacks that are just filled with studs, which is why I like this game as a whole, right? So similarly, when we're talking about that Cincy stack with Burrow and all his wide receivers being sub 6K, well, it's the exact same thing for Sunshine and Marvin Jones and Visca. And I absolutely love your Marvin Jones call. That to me is the pivot to Visca. I know we're talking about Jalen Waddle for cash, for example, except right. So Visca is 100% in our cash lineups. Both of us can say that with utter confidence that we're both playing Visca in cash. Waddle being a potential second guy, etc., to pair with Adams. That being said, when we're talking about pivots, it's not necessarily, there's all kinds of different pivots, right? We're talking about guys that are within the same price point. Maybe it's, mixing and matching exposure to games where we had a wide receiver running back combo, and now we just simply flip the positions on the teams, right? So the kind of pivot that I'm looking for Visca in GPPs is just right to the left, and that's Marvin Jones. So to me, to be able to get a guy who has that much equity in the red zone at 5,700, man, oh man, it's tough for me to pass up on that. And I refuse to pass up on it in GPPs, because when I got my mini stack with Derrick Henry, I'm not pairing it with the Titans defense. The Titans defense could be free. I still wouldn't play them because they are absolute cheeks. But what I will do is run it back with a Jaguar. And what I want to do there, I'm not really interested in James Robinson, not until they get a head coach that knows that he has a stud running back there. So for those reasons, I'm out. But outside of that, it's Visca and Marv. For me, I'm looking at Marv, a guy that has a ridiculous upside when we're talking about strictly red zone equity. And for me, that's what matters when we're talking about GPPs. We need touchdowns. We need as much as we can get from our guy. And I know that Visca has a very safe floor in a matchup like this. Seeing what he did last week, he's a great PPR guy, especially on DraftKings. Don't get me wrong. But when we're talking about pure upside, Marvin Jones at 5,700 for me, I don't know if there's a better point per dollar upside play. If that's a thing, if it isn't, we just made it up. TM it on the WindowEsports.com show at, I'll say 10:35, because that's Stix time, and he knows that I know that now. So 10:35, we just trademarked that. That's exactly what it is for Marvin Jones this week. I really do like that, and I'm playing Derrick Henry everywhere. I don't care if he's 30% on, 40% on, 50% on. He could be 90% on. I don't care. I'm playing Derrick Henry everywhere, every single format. It's Lock City for me on the King.
King Henry. All right. So to recap, if you're just joining us, we greatly appreciate everybody being on. We are very high on Minnesota, Detroit. Even with Madison ruled in, that is going to be chalk city. I love Madison. We love Madison. But in any lineup, I don't have Madison. I'm likely going to that Minnesota passing attack with, Thielen, Jefferson, the guys, and then running it back with DeAndre Swift and potentially another punt play for Detroit, whatever. Green Bay, Cincinnati, we absolutely love that game. And then Jacksonville, Tennessee is a game that we're very interested in. We literally have no interest in really anything else outside of a couple value plays at Miami, Tampa Bay. And now let's move on to the afternoon. Chicago, Las Vegas. Trayvon Mullen out. Damon Arnett out. You see I saw his locker?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That made my day. When you talking that, I was like, oh my gosh, we made so much money off picking on that guy in DFS.
Yeah, I should have gave him like a thank you note or something. I got to tour that stadium and go through the locker room. It was pretty cool. That place at Palace. But I don't have a ton of interest in this game, but with both of those guys out, those corners who aren't good anyway, so I can't imagine who their backups are. I should know that. I don't. Allen Robinson is priced at $5,500. I know it's gross. He hasn't done anything all year. I think he's like, I was looking at my season-long league trying to trade for Allen Robinson. My brother-in-law has him, and I was looking to find his ranking. He's like wide receiver 60 in our league. It's like, oh my god, what is going on?
Bad. I have him. I have him in season-long, and it is. I'm only in one league. I managed to get. I'm not really in season-long anymore. There's only one league that we do. We've been doing it for countless amount of years now, and that's the league that I can't get out of. And it's just, man, oh man, I have Allen Robinson on my bench, and it's just. Makes me so sad that I can't start this guy every single week.
I mean, I think this is the week to go. But yeah, shout out to Brian. Thanks. The video of me running a quick post route at that stadium. Put the cameraman in the spin cycle. You see that? He thought I was going to the post, going to the corner. I was like, I'm going to the post, baby. And that's 6. That's a house call. Me and my 5'9" or 6 flat 40 probably these days. But I do have a little bit of interest in this game. Damian Williams is a really good value. It's a good spot, but I think we see a little bit of Khalil Herbert. The Bears did sign Jakeem Grant to play to be the kick returner. That's the rookie Khalil Herbert's old job. So sure looks like he's going to get some tick. I'd rather, now that we know Madison's a go, I just don't care for Damian Williams very much at all. I think Josh Jacobs at 5,900 against this Bears defense without Akeem Hicks, their best run stopper, is a very interesting play. Like this game could low key win the Millie Maker. I think you could play Henry Ruggs 1% owned, Allen Robinson 2 to 5% owned, Darnell Mooney 2 to 5% owned, Darren Waller 10% owned. Like this is the best tight end if you want to stack this game. I mean, Derek Carr throws for 300 yards every single damn game, so I'm not going to be mad at you if you want to play Derek Carr. Henry Ruggs, who could blow the tops off of Vilgore, the Bears cornerback today. That's the same guy. I think that Van Jefferson beat on the play action. If I am John Gruden, I am watching film of that Van Jefferson play, and I'm doing the exact same thing with Henry Ruggs, and he should score a deep ball today. Then run it back with Allen Robinson, or get Josh Jacobs in there, stack Justin Fields if you want to get absolutely crazy. Everybody's playing Trey Lance. Justin Fields hasn't done anything yet, but against a team with no secondary, this could be a get-right spot. But again, I'll have a little bit. Like if I'm playing 150, I think maybe 5% of my lineups will be stacking around this game just because I need to play Waller today. But that's about it for me. Any thoughts on this game? I just think there's slow, everybody's 1%, and this game has no defense either. So I don't see why we wouldn't be interested like we are with Jacksonville, Tennessee.
It could be a really good game for Justin Fields too.
Yeah.
This Vegas defense is absolutely atrocious. So being able to get, when we're talking about, getting the core pieces to certain games, we're talking about guys like Devante Adams, Aaron Jones, and, you mentioned DJ Moore and how he's pretty much like Devante Adams Jr. 4 weeks into the season. And it's just all these guys are just so expensive. When we're talking about the core guys to this game, outside of Darren Waller, there is nobody that's expensive. Right. And that's why to me it's just so attractive. So I have a lot of love for Damian Williams in this spot. The guy's absolutely electric in the open field, especially when he's catching the ball. I hope that Justin Fields is able to find him and be able to get him the ball into open space because, man, D Will, when he gets into that little bit of space, he's gone. And we saw it with the Chiefs. We saw it in the Super Bowl also to close out their Super Bowl win. And it was just, that to me is classic Damian Williams, and I really like him in the spot with Monty out for the next 4 to 5 weeks with his knee injury. Outside of that, like I was saying before, there's no Kelsey, there's no Kittle, and Darren Waller's 10% owned. Why? Like
especially with Madison now too. So I guess Ghost, if I'm like, let me try to ask you a question, because if you're that high on Henry, how do you play Henry and Waller together? Is it
that's exactly my issue. That's exactly my issue, right? So that
I'll try to do
at that point, the guy that I would come off of to make that work is not Derrick Henry. And as much as it pains me to say this, the guy that just mathematically speaking, I'm not saying to do it. I'm not saying don't do it. You know, like that's not the goal of this show. What I'm saying is mathematically speaking, the guy that I would have to come off of is Devante Adams.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's just, again, like I get the punt tight end strategy. It opens up the world for your lineup. You're able to avoid the Curtis Samuels of the world and this and that at 3K. I get it. I get what the strategy is of punting tight end. But there's also a risk that you have a big fat 0 in your lineup. And it does not matter what the other guys do. If you have a 0, it won't work. So for me, it's just, what better way is there to get different on this slate than to play the best tight end that is leaps and bounds the best tight end on this slate? If Darren Waller was $8,000, we'd still be having the same conversation, because put a week where the Chiefs are on bye, everybody should be playing Darren Waller, right? So it's just, if Kelsey was not Kelsey, it would be Darren Waller. That's exactly it. There were even talks about, Darren Waller being a 1B to Travis Kelsey 1A in fantasy. And that's exactly what he represents in this Vegas offense. So for me to be able to say, like, Darren Waller's 10% owned, man, I just don't get it. I really do not get it. And that's the lineup that, from after we get off air to the end, that's the lineup that I'm going to prioritize building, is with Derrick Henry and Darren Waller. How can I get a stack that I want? Whether it be a Jacksonville stack, whether it be a Cincy stack, those to me are two stacks that, again, I haven't really spoken out loud about this before this very moment on the show, but those are two stacks to me that come to mind, where we're talking about Sunshine with Marvin Jones at 5,700 and Visca at 48. Well, that fits perfectly because I have Derrick Henry prioritized in that lineup anyways. I get Darren Waller on that side, and I run it back with Damian Williams to get a nice 1-2, or if it's Mooney because you need a wide receiver over a running back. For me, it's D Will over Mooney, but if it's a positional thing, I am more than okay with Mooney also. But I want that exact lineup right there, and without giving it all away, because we can't do that. That's pretty much as close as we can get. It's just off the top of my head, mathematically, it would be Sunshine with Marvin Visca, run it back with Derrick Henry because I'm playing him everywhere no matter what, and it actually works out. And then you get that mini stack with your RB2 and Damian Williams and Darren Waller. And now all you need is a wide receiver 3, a flex, and a DST.
It fits. I just made a lineup that fits. Hint, I played Fournette and Waddle in that lineup, though, but it definitely fits, yeah. All right, next game, Cleveland and the Chargers. I love Nick Chubb. I absolutely love Nick Chubb in this spot. The Chargers give up like 5.5 yards per carry to opposing running backs. Nick Chubb is super cheap. He's going to get in the box today. I think it's an excellent GPP play. Austin Eckler's 10% owned against a Cleveland defense that blitzes this much. Should be dump off heaven. But Keenan Allen is way too cheap at $6,500. Mike Williams is $700 more than Keenan Allen. Can I take a victory lap on Mike Williams? I was just 2 years, 3 years.
It is well deserved victory lap. It is a
never ever
one.
paid off for me. How much money I've lost on this guy, and now he goes off, and I only played him the KC game, but that was a big week for me. So cool with you, Mike. But yeah, I just want to say victory lap that Mike Williams is that good. Always thought he was that good, but yeah. I don't have a ton of love for this game besides those three guys I think make perfect sense. Keenan's going to be very popular. I think he's more of a cash play for me. I just don't see the pace of this game going wild, especially when how bad Baker was last year. I just want to play Chubb, and you can play Kareem Hunt in your season-long leagues. I don't think I want to play him on DK, but a 2% owned Nick Chubb can certainly break the slate against this defense. Any thoughts on this game?
I have two completely different sides to this game. I do like the Eckler Chargers DST combo. Seeing Baker struggle with the health and everything else that he's going through injury wise, being able to get this Chargers defense, they're a defense that can make plays, right? They have an explosive defense. Haven't really strung it together for a complete campaign just yet, but they have a ton of playmakers on this defense. When we're talking about Bosa, we're talking about Derwin James, right? So we're talking about a ton of other guys. They have so many playmakers on this defense that I do like that Eckler Chargers DST. But then on the complete flip side, I love Nick Chubb in this spot. And I actually said it to the boys. I think it was either Monday or Tuesday when I always do my way too early first look, just messing around, seeing who's underpriced. And I saw Nick Chubb at 6,700. And I had to do a double take. It just didn't make sense to me. So seeing him there with his Stefanski run scheme that's going to do work today, considering that Jarvis is still out, they're struggling in the passing game with Baker's injuries too. Man, I think we see a lot of both Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb today to be able to do work on the ground, Kareem Hunt in the passing game. And that would be my little 1-2 stack if you do get exposure to this one. All in all, I really don't have all that much invested. It's more so the Chargers D because I'm not a Baker guy. But if there is a 1-2 stack to be had that is virtually unrostered, it would be Nick Chubb with like seeing again, and like just as I'm finishing my sentence, I realized I forgot to mention it. Keenan Allen at ridiculously low rostership just doesn't make sense to me. The guy's 6,500. Like, name me a guy that has a safer floor in full PPR other than Keenan Allen. Like, it's just the man catches 90 balls a week. Like, it's just seeing that. And what are you're hoping for a Keenan Allen touchdown? Okay, well, in a week where everyone's hoping for a Ross Dwelly touchdown and a Seals Jones touchdown, if you're hoping for a Keenan Allen touchdown to get to 25 points, I'd much rather take that than over everything else that everyone's hoping for. So being able to get a 1-2 stack of Nick Chubb and Keenan Allen, two guys that can break an NFL slate on any given week at such ridiculous pricing and such low ownership for me is the way to go in this one. I do like the Chargers D a ton as well if you're not playing Nick Chubb, but that's about it for me. It's really keeping it to those mini stacks. I don't have a ton of interest because I'm really not a Baker guy, and he seems really banged up. So hopefully he's able to get healthy and get the Browns back on track here.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you. I love Chubb. That's about it.
Yep.
San Fran, Arizona. Trey Lance chalk week. Whatever. If you want to play him in cash, go ahead. But it's the same reason I liked Fields the first week we played him. I know he would dud it out, but I think Trey Lance, is certainly going to be much more involved in a running game because Kyle Shanahan will scheme to play a run heavy offense against Arizona's defense. They are terrible against the run. Kyler Murray under 10% is probably one of my other favorite GPP plays. I know we talked about Kirk, we talked about Lawrence. Kyler Murray is my other guy for sure, if not Dak Prescott, that we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, I mean, Brandon Ayuk's pretty cheap. He's going to be 1% owned. That's kind of gross, though. But if you're full stack in this game, I would get a piece of Ayuk. But other than that, I do not like this game very much at all. Outside of Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins at 5% ownership is sickening, like way too cheap.
Yeah, you nailed it. Lance, the only thing with Lance is that he has the legs, right? So we love the rushing upside there. But this Arizona defense is quite the challenge, right? So that's the only thing. And then to be able to add the fact that Kittle's out, you don't only lose one of your best pass catchers, but you lose your best blocker also. Like there's no way that they let him sit back there running for his life on 5-man protections all day. So in that case, if they do that, that's a recipe for disaster. And if they don't do that because Shanahan knows what he's doing, and they add a 6-man protection and anything like that, we're talking about Debo getting double covered all day. Guy's fast. He's really fast. But seeing double coverage, it's not Devante Adams. It's not prime Julio Jones. It's not it's not at DeAndre Hopkins, right? So it's not Stephon Diggs that when they're in double coverage, I don't even blink an eye. But when you see Debo in double coverage, now we're talking about, a potential offense that might not be able to get done as much as they're anticipating to be able to get done this week. So that's the only thing that worries me about San Fran. And on the flip side, playing Kyler this week, has so much upside, seeing that everyone's going lower on quarterback. I mean, not complete punting as they are with tight end, but a lot of people are living in the 6 to 6.5 range at QB. Seeing Kyler there way up there at 8K on DraftKings. Like, no one's playing Kyler this week. I really do like the upside in this matchup. Keeping it with Nuke and then running it back with, it would probably have to be Devo for me because I don't really have much interest in anyone else. And keep in mind about Ross Dwelly again that I will add, obviously, in case people haven't gotten the memo. I actually do not like Ross Dwelly this week. The main reason why is that, number one, the target share is inexistent. And number two is that when he's catching a touchdown, it's inside the 10. And it's not Jimmy G with negative speed back there under center. Now it's Trey Lance. If he's inside the 10, he's running it in himself. So that's where I'm not saying that he won't catch a touchdown, and watch him catch 3 today just to burn me so that I'd have to chug a beer next show, but watch him catch 3 touchdowns today. Watch him catch 3 touchdowns today. But I'm just saying that, logically speaking, like, just the way that I look at that spot where you need Ross Dwelly to catch a 10-yard touchdown for him to really have any impact whatsoever in your lineup, that's where, for me, it's a hard pass, because when I'm inside the 10, if I'm San Fran, I'm letting Lance run it in. I'm not throwing the ball to Ross Dwelly. So that's where I'm out. But I do like this game as a whole. I think it goes back and forth. My only worry is that, does it go back and forth in terms of turnovers, or does it go back and forth with Lance putting on a show in his debut? That's where I don't think there's going to be an in-between here. It's going to be hit or miss.
I think that's fair. DeAndre Hopkins at 5% owned. I just want that to be known.
I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. That's ridiculous.
Moving on to the game with all the fireworks that we think all the ownership, everybody is going to Dallas and New York. I think it's a great spot. Both quarterbacks are in play. Dak Prescott is by far my number one quarterback play on the board. And he grades out as the second best overall on 80 mile, just second to Kyler Murray, and he's 6,900. I think this is an excellent spot for him. I think this is a smash spot for Zeke. I know people are worried about his knee, but the props for Zeke are through the roof. He's got 100 and something all-purpose yards. I think he's minus 200 to score now. And he's going to be low owned. No one's playing him, and everybody's going to Barkley and the Dallas passing attack. And like I said, Dallas is projected to be the number one offense in the adjusted expected team totals tool on windailysports.com. So I will play Zeke with Dak. I think this offense goes for 40 points, and they can't stop anybody either. So run it back with your value guys like Kadarius Toney. Kenny Galladay is pretty cheap. He'll see a lot of Trayvon Diggs, though, and that's something I'm not really interested in. But Galladay could blow the roof off of people like he is the guy with the air yards. Tony's more the PPR guy that we saw last week, and they get 9 targets. So that's excellent at 4K. Evan Ingram is a respectable 3K chalk tight end. And then Dalton Schultz at 4,400. If you want to keep thinking this hot streak goes, I will not talk you off of it. But every key starter in this game is in play, and I think they're all going to have 10% ownership besides Zeke Elliott. So I'm more interested in Zeke, but I also love Dak. But absolutely love this game. I don't think you really need us to break it down much more than that. But any other thoughts on this game?
Other than the fact exposure. That, the divisional game, you need exposure to this one. Highest total. I think that Dallas's offense goes absolutely bonkers today. That we boys get another win here.
It's CeeDee Lamb week.
The one thing that I will point out is that Coop is really banged up. So I think we see a ton of both Zeke and Tony Pollard here, and I do like Schultz again just because of how banged up Coop is. CD, when he's not on Bradbury, should do well. When he is on Bradbury, that's it should be a really fun matchup. Like, DFS aside, should be a really fun matchup just to watch and enjoy Bradbury going up against CD. So can't wait to take a look at that. But I do like the Giants side of things too. To kind of surprising considering that 2 of their best pass catchers are out there. But Tony Chalk kind of has been dwindling down throughout the day.
I think because everybody went to Higgins.
That's exactly it, right? So now it piqued my interest. I'd be lying if it said it didn't pique my interest a little bit more now that he's not double-digit owned. Seeing a guy there that, outside of Kenny Galladay, I'm talking purely wide receivers now, and it's no disrespect to Saquon. Obviously, Saquon's a playmaker. Like, they don't really have that many playmakers, right? Outside of the Ross random and 90-yard touchdown that he gets once every 5 years. Like, that's just that's not a thing. So, like, Tony's going to be that guy. And in a game where it's not just us saying that they're going to be chasing points. It's Vegas laying Dallas as 7-point favorites, right? So the Giants being able to chase these points, Daniel Jones is going to have to do work. It's going to be a ton of passes to Saquon. He's going to be able to run the ball too to try and keep Dak and that offense off the field. And it's going to be Tony and maybe some Kenny Golladay, but I personally, I don't see Golladay doing as much as Tony, because I really do think that they're going to be able to move the ball better with him than they will with Kenny G. So I do like Tony in this spot. Curious to see as we get even closer to lock here, just under an hour now, if Tony ends up getting low owned, I will be way overweight on the field as my primary Giants run back. That way I can keep my running back spots to the original ones that I really like, those core four of running backs that I like, because that kind of messed things up that I really wanted Giants exposure. And obviously I primarily wanted Saquon, but if I could get Tony at single digit ownership, I will limit I'm not coming off him completely, but I will limit my Saquon shares to more Tony to be able to get 3 out of those 4 running backs. Obviously Derrick Henry's just lock city everywhere. That way I can get exposure to this game as much as possible. You need exposure to this game. You absolutely need it.
Yep.
Whether it's in the form of, again, a tight end. Tight end is a position for me where you should be looking to get different, because punting 20% chalk, 2,500 guys that will combine for 4 targets this week, all 4 of them are going to combine for 4 targets. That's a hard pass for me. So getting Schultz at 4,400, Gotseki at 42, going all the way up to Waller, which I'm trying to build that lineup now, and I absolutely love the way that it's coming together. So that's the way that I'm getting different. So for that reason alone, I'll probably have a lot more Dalton Schultz than I originally planned. But I do like him this week. Coop is really banged up. So CD, Schultz, Zeke, absolutely love Zeke. You already talked about it. I could talk about Zeke for the next hour and a half, so I'm not going to get too much into that. Love Zeke, and I do think I think we see a ton of Tony Pollard today as well, also in the passing game.
As long as he gets 2 scores, that's all I need.
Zeke will get at least 2 scores, at least.
All right, let's do it. Let's wrap it up. I guess I got to chug this beer first, or should I do that at the end? I'll do that now, but
we'll do it now.
I have a brutal cold. I can't make excuses. And one, I'm not a good chugger, but here we go. So I bet Travis Kelce.
Are we doing it?
No, that's good. No, we'll do the end right after this. I bet Travis Kelce would be within 3.5 points of Derrick Henry last week. I lost, so I got to chug a beer as my first drink in the morning. So here we go. But you can talk, like, let the people,
Cheers, buddy.
Start talking about your favorite QBs or something.
Yeah, all right. So we'll go to that. We'll do favorite cash, favorite GPP of every position, of course. So for me, I also try to not take all of your picks, because I don't want to be that guy that just takes all your picks to be able to steal your thunder. So I will try to, the mug. I told you guys yesterday that I have a pretty funny mug to show on air there. So yeah, Brian, I appreciate that comment. But best QB, I think you're going to go with that guy. So I will take. You're going to go. No, you just go first. I'd rather make decisions after. I don't want to steal your thunder.
Okay. All right. There we go. Sorry. I was burping a lot, so I had to mute. Cash. My favorite cash quarterback on the day is Dak Prescott. My favorite GPP, I'm going with 2% owned, Trevor Lawrence.
Wow. Okay. Cash, I will go with Joe Burrow, and GPP, I will go with, I don't know, give me Cousins. Give me Cousins.
Yep, I was going to say that's like my honorable mention. All right. Cash running back is easy. Derrick Henry. GPP running back, oh, man. It's between, Cash, Alexander Madison everywhere. Let's be clear there. I want to say DeAndre Swift, but I'm going to go with Aaron Jones. I'm going to trust the model. I think it's a really big Aaron Jones breakout game here for sure. Scores 3 times.
Cash will just state the obvious with the not even single running back, the duo in Derrick Henry and Madison. GPP, it's Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry, and Damian Williams. Damian Williams is my guy. $100 more than Alexander Madison. His ownership is going to plummet now. I like that buy spot for Damian Williams.
All right. Cash wide receiver. Man, I mean, do I have to say Devante Adams? I guess
I'll say Devante Vizca.
Yeah, I'll go Vizca for sure. Laviska. That'll give you something different to build. I'm not just going to tell you to play Derrick Henry and Devante Adams together and figure it out. Like, you can do it, but yeah, Laviska, Chanel, Cash, and then GPP, AJ Brown on the other side.
I like it. GPP for me is Marvin Jones. Absolutely love Marvin Jones this week. We are on the same page with that one, as we are a lot of things, like we are every week. And for Cash, I was gonna say Vizca. I like that whole 4 to 5K range. Vizca, Waddle, T. Higgins from a ownership perspective, less so on a production perspective. But for me, it's Vizca, Waddle, T. Higgins. You can play a ton of these 4 to 5K guys and pair them with Devante Adams. You'll be able to do work in that Cash lineup.
Ooh. Sorry, yelling at Brian here in the chat. All right, let's talk about this real quick. Come on, what are we doing? Brian, you know better. Playing Sunshine. All right, so you're playing Trevor Lawrence, running it back with King Henry on the other side. Alexander Madison. What is this, Chanel or Aguilar? What does this mean, though? Why would you not pair it up with – you're playing Chanel.
You go Chanel with Marv.
And Marvin, yeah. What are all these random one-offs here? Come on, you know better.
That
Waller and D-Will is perfect.
That is the exact lineup that I just.
His Aguilar senses are tingling. Well, then go play a whole Patriot stack with 0% on Mac Jones and play that in the millie because no one's going to do that. So
that's gross. The Pats suck.
Yeah, but do that. All right, wide receiver or tight end. Cash for me. It's Evan Ingram. I hate to be the chalk.
I wasn't expecting that.
It's Evan Ingram. Yeah. Well, actually, Mike Gesicki's my cash tight end now, but I think I may go to Waddle, and I will not play 2 Dolphins, so I may go to Evan Ingram.
Go play T. Higgins.
Yeah, Gesicki's an absolute home run here.
Play T. Higgins.
I'm not playing T. Higgins. And then GPP, Darren Waller, 10%. I'm not playing T. Higgins. Leave me alone. I'm muting.
Play T. Higgins. Cash tight end for me is the 4K guys. So Goatsecki and Schultz. I'm okay with either one of them. I think both of them do really well. And GBP, same 2 guys. Darren Waller. I am not playing a single tight end under 4.2K today. So
I think that's a huge edge, though, guys. Like, I am going to play Evan Ingram just because I have to for some of these builds, but that is an excellent way to get different. I think that's what I wrote about in my GPP article, too. I think the only tight end I wrote was if you can afford Waller, you play Waller. And other than that, you go down to Gesicki because playing 15%, 20%, 30% owned Evan Ingram in large field GPPs is not going anywhere. Gross. So get a piece of Dallas, get a piece of New York, but I think we're both in agreement that we'd rather go to Kadarius Toney as our cheap value giant and then getting Zeke or CeeDee Lamb or something like that on the other side of Dallas and then stacking up the other games that we talked about. Just get a piece of Dallas, get a piece of New York in your lineups. And Evan Ingram will not be the path to success in a massive GPP, in my opinion. If he does, whatever. But I think you could survive. Like, what is Evan Ingram's ceiling? 18 points? Gesicki can get
that's
that
a high
easy.
ceiling too.
Yeah, right.
That's a generous really Sunday morning post beer chug ceiling for Evan Ingram.
Yeah, exactly. And if you play Darren Waller, that is his floor. So if Evan Ingram goes off and everybody's like, well, shit, Evan Ingram's going to break the slate. Like his breaking
Darren
the slate.
Darren Waller had a quote unquote bad week last week because he only went 4 for 50 and he put up 15 DraftKings points with that touchdown.
Yeah,
that was a quote unquote bad week for Darren Waller.
And 15, he will love
15 DK.
And he will love the Chicago Bears secondary. He'll run circles around him. So
week 1, he went for 10, 105, and 1, 30 DK.
But, yeah, maybe I'll keep Gesicki in my cash lineup then. I was just going to go. I don't think in cash it matters.
I'm playing Goatsecki in cash. Playing Goatsecki.
Well, we greatly appreciate all of you. I think this is one of the highest viewed shows that we've had so far this year. So thank you very much. So let's make a beer bet real quick. We'll make that a random thing. You got T. Higgins.
I'm actually stamping this right now. Okay, like we have the memes that I make you. By the way, like that. That's what we do, right? So he texts me which meme to make, and then I just make it, and then he fires it off. So
I need that.
I am making my TGF play of the day. That is a staple as of now. TGF play of the day is Darren Waller. We are starting that. It's a week 5 thing that is starting from here on out. TGF play is like, I always give speedy wide receivers and stuff. It's now the TGF play. TGF Marvin play of the week is Darren Waller.
And I just want to see the Discord lit up when Jacksonville goes and Minnesota goes.
You think they put up a 28 spot today, Jacksonville?
Probably 27. All right. Beer bet. Next week, you take it, I'm going to handicap it. Let me see what the model has for.
Are we going Henry? You're giving me Henry again?
No. I got T. Higgins for 14 points. I will set the line 13.5, and I want the under. DraftKings points.
13.5.
Yeah. You can counter if you want a different
What do you have them at?
The 80 Mile has him for 14.
Like I'm not hiding any secrets here that I use
14
your projections.
Yeah,
14.
He's on.
So what are you giving me the line at? What are you giving me the line at? 13.5.
I'm giving you a half-point buffer.
Life's too bad for the. Life's too short for the.
If you're nervous about him getting 14 points, why would you?
I will take the over.
5K?
I would take the over.
Thank you.
I would take the over.
Shake. All right, let's go. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy it, and hit us up on Discord or tweet at us if you want a free trial or anything. If you're just tuning in on YouTube, we have Discords where everything's at. We talk lineups all day long. Everybody, shares their thoughts. We learn from you guys. You learn from us. It's great. So thank you a ton. And the Jets are getting their ass kicked. So we'll call it a day. Kyle Pitts is going off too, by the way. Another 40-yard catch.
I know it's probably limited, but if there are any Canadians around, happy Thanksgiving.
Is it Thanksgiving today in Canada?
Yeah.
Nice,
today,
man.
Well, today, tomorrow, whatever it is. I just see it as a 4-day weekend. So
great. Well, happy Thanksgiving. Weekend. Good stuff. All right, go Blackhawks. And go White Sox. We gotta win today.
Go White Sox. Go White Sox.
Dylan Cease is gonna get lit up. Not gonna be good. All right, done rambling.
Do it.
Godspeed, guys. Good luck.